We're in a relativistic universe, so the sun does rise and set. From our point, on our particular mud ball, the sun does rise in the east and set in the west. It doesn't from a point outside our perspective, but whoever's been out there except a few old guys. You know, when something appears is essentially what it is. We can understand the mechanism, but once again, we are not restricted to an exclusive category of either or. With our expanded world view, even a cosmic view, we can know that where you are and where you stand determines everything, including your perception of this curious universe in which we find ourselves. Yes, once one acknowledges the preeminence of knowledge, the sun rises on new worlds each and every day. And the Ask Dr. Hal show will be there when that happens, although it will actually take place after sunset.
Well, even though that was the last question, I was a liar.
That was the penultimate question.
I got another question.
All right, the tricky guy.
And I'm going to ask this last question, ladies and gentlemen, when I'm done asking this question over here, which is a $20 question.
Oh, good. That's good.
It is a $20 question. Here's, ladies and gentlemen, $20 right here.
All right. There you go.
And it's, how have you been?
How have I been?
Well, that's the question. There's more, though. You want to hear
All right, let's hear the entire thing.
Okay.
I shall stand and push in the rest of this question.
Here it is. How have you been?
How have I been?
That's a question. But then it also says, I miss you.
No.
And then it says, please answer in verse. Robert Levin. He doesn't like answering in verse. He'll do it. Fucking $20.
Unfair. Yeah, $20.
Unfair. Bye. Walk out. Go ahead. Leave.
No, that is unprofessional. I can't do it. But, all right, how have I been?
How have you been?
How have I been? The question stands. And now, with the slip here in my hands, I'm forced to come up with the word, though it may be obscene or absurd. But nonetheless, I have to say, I have endured each and every day the many indignities of life, its trouble, pain, remorse, and strife. And yet, I have endured this far and gotten here where you two are. And thus, the answer I endow. I have been fine right up to now. Yeah, there you go, folks. You know, the scansion was a little bit wonky there, but that's what happens. You know, that's the problem. That's the problem with answering in verse. You can't refine your verse. Unless you're Jack Kerouac, you don't want to go with a first draft. And all this stuff is being recorded. So snarky internet gnomes can now call in and complain because right off the bat I couldn't give a perfect meter in a couple of those lines. Why I oughta... Well,
go ahead, keep complaining, Hal. I have another $20 question.
All right. Well, my complaints are dissolved, like the dews of morning. Go ahead.
Okay, this question is in 2 parts.
I trust still readable.
All the other groups of magazines, though.
Dear Dr. Hal.
Yes?
Half of the Beatles is gone.
True.
But Keith Richards is still around.
Yes.
What the fuck? Yeah! Oh yeah, baby!
Oh well, maybe that's for David Capurro. We're going to see some of those pictures now. It's a pity that you shut-ins at home and listening to the radio won't actually get to see
You
them.
guys got 2 cunts for eyes. Look at that. It's horrifying.
Well, yeah, that is rather dispiriting and off-putting, but what is this? question again. Oh yeah. Keith Richards is still around. What? Well, because, as I said in earlier context, he's pickled. He's preserved. Or like the mummies in our early question, there is less moisture in his makeup than in other walking, living humans. And, you know, where there is moisture, there's the opportunity for decay. And all the processes of disease, even undergoing the true mother of disease, which is age. Remember, the Rolling Stones are thought to be hard-edged guys with a street cred, and the Beatles just sort of harmless, snarky college students. And that view is entirely wrong, misplaced, and reversed, since it's the Rolling Stones who were the snarky college students, and the Beatles, curiously and paradoxically enough, who came up from the rough edges of England. But we don't hold anyone's origins against them, at least not long, here at the Dr. Hal Show. And thanks so much for your question,
well, wait a minute now,
which would normally produce a Barney presentation.
Well, hold on. One second. I got an idea. Okay. Now, for $20 here, that was a $20 question. I think that deserves... Do you know the lyrics to any Rolling Stones songs?
Satisfaction.
I'm not going to do that, chicken.
Come on,
I can't provide
I
the
think that you
music.
should recite a Rolling Stones song as Richard M. Nixon.
Reciting song lyrics.
Did you just say... But the Beatles are better than the Rolling Stones, right? Here's another $20.
Oh, for God's sake. All right, I'll do what Chicken just asked me to do, which is only excusable because it is not exactly the assignment, but our playful take on it. Yes, indeed. We're going to need for the K-Rob to settle down.
Yes.
Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spreading out so far and wide. Red barns and green fields. You can keep Manhattan, just give me the countryside. Green Acres, we are there. New York is where I long to stay. I get allergic when I'm smelling hay. I just adore a penthouse view with a look at Central Park. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue. Green Acres, we are there. The stores, the chores, fresh air, Times Square. You are my wife, goodbye city life, Green Acres, we are there. Green Acres is the place to be. Well, not the Rolling Stones, but maybe next time we'll have to come back for the sequel of that unfortunate recitation, such as it is.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is indeed the last question of the night.
Very well.
What would be the truest definition of utopia, and is it even possible to achieve? Is it even possible to achieve utopia?
Has anybody here read a book by Mr. Mark Twain called Captain Stormfield's Visit to Heaven? It's a good one. You ought to read it. Well, in this book, Captain Stormfield goes to heaven, as the title might suggest. Then he finds out that the way it's set up there is sufficient for human happiness. But he's surprised that it's not all cushions and clouds and foo-for-all, because although you can get whatever you want in heaven, and when the people go to the clouds to sit with their harps and so on, they soon get pretty bored with it. And then there's a huge stream of people leaving the clouds, and they're handing off their palm branches and harps and halos to other people who are just coming in. And pretty soon there are huge heaps of halos and so on. People are getting out of there because such a paradise is no paradise. It is annoying and pointless. That type of utopia is no utopia. It is a trap. But in any real heaven, as Captain Stormfield finds, or in any setup that is tolerable to humans, harking back to our earlier answer, there has to be a challenge. And so if there is an afterlife, one must be refined and improved by this life, the before life, enough to perform the useful work which will be available in the future state. You see, if you're just thrown back on your own resources, you're in hell, not in heaven. You can't exist with yourself all through eternity. It gets harder and more painful. You might like it at first. Eventually, it'll drive you insane. But eternity means what it says. Well, aside from any theological hair splitting, for utopia, the challenge must be present. What challenges might be eternally present if all social problems are solved? We have seen this pointed out. Science offers these challenges. Science offers us the ability to contend in the arena of space exploration. It's dangerous, but it's competitive, and it excites the imagination. So aside from any monetary benefit, which actually turns out to be considerable, since money spent for space is not spent in space, but right here on Earth, aside from that, it bleeds off destructive energies, which otherwise are manifested in more destructive theaters of competition. War, famine, plague, and sheer human nastiness. Now we can minimize these things for our utopia, but if we ever abolish challenge, we will not have utopia, but a puddle of increasing decay, where there was once a civilization. Maybe that's what we're getting now, because we're maybe a little too comfortable, and although there's much misery and villainy going on in the world, we choose to be ignorant of it, mainly because it's not on Dancing with the Stars. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show tonight. Thanks a lot for coming.
And thank you all for coming. Be with us next week for another exciting episode of the Ask Dr. Hal Show. It's a quarter after the hour of 11 o'clock on listener supported Radio Valencia, 87.9 FM. This has been the Ask Dr. Hal Show.
And this is George saying goodbye to everybody who's been listening, and also to you for having us on the program. Thank you very much. Goodbye.